But,
Yeah. Anyway, right, we can start this again. Don't worry, it's all
all right.
good.
Perfect. All right. So, basically, we're discussing orcs today, and
Woo!
they were created by the old ones. They function a lot like fungus. So, the moment that their spores hit a planet, you got yourself an orc infestation on your hands, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a bad thing because they're like how would I call it? They're a persistent invasive species. Once they get on your planet, getting them out is basically just blow it up, move somewhere else. You're not going to get rid of them. They're going to keep coming. Um,
Yep.
they are basically just the wackiest level of violent that you can imagine. I mean, like, just to the point where sometimes it's just like, does it get any crazier than this? And it's just like, oh yeah, no, absolutely, it gets crazier. it gets
Yeah.
it gets
Yeah.
so much.
Like orcs are violent, but they're also really creative. One of my favorite stories, I think it comes from like the War on Armageddon,
Mhm.
is when orc is when Gazgal Fracker's like giant war band all banded together.
Mhm.
Basically, the War on Armageddon happened because Gazgal Fracker was like seen as like an orc pope, an pretty much of like Gork and Mork.
Yeah.
And what happened was that all like the Orc mech boys decided to make a fucking moon that had a million guns attached to it, and it also had like aircraft and everything. Basically, the Orcs managed to make a moon within like a day or something stupid, and it was like right outside Armageddon, which was an imperial planet. So yeah, if the Orcs want to, they can just make like giant planets out of scrap. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was in my notes is that basically they can just kind of take whatever and make it work for them. However, and this is something that we'll get into it, anything that is created by an orc, the moment it's handed, it falls into the hands of any other faction, it just kind of falls to pieces. And there's a very specific reason why that is. Um,
Yeah,
and it's
self-help books.
yeah, and
The Orcs
basically,
all help
was it?
books. It's like, I need to know how to love myself again. And Orc reads that. Yeah, I can do anything.
So basically, on my notes it says that they were created to fight the Necrons
Yeah, by the old ones,
by the
and
old ones.
originally they were called the Corks, which were like Orcs as they are now. However, they were smarter, a
Hmm.
lot faster, a lot bigger, and a lot and like just better overall. In fact, there's a Necron. Oh, I forgot his name. Uh, his nickname is like the Traveler. Basically,
Hmm.
just takes people and important like statues and stuff and puts them into a giant vault. And there's an giant old cork in. It's just a giant cork foot soldier in like this stasis pod, and he's got like power armor that's so good it's better than half what the Space Marines are wearing now.
Hmm.
So yeah, corks were pretty much like the best weapons ever. It was just a shame they sort of liked fighting a lot,
Yeah.
including yeah.
Yeah, and that's for sure. So here's one question that I had is, so what constitutes their transition from being corks to orcs? I mean, what changed there?
Evolution. It's sort of like after the War on Heaven,
Mm-hmm.
or the War in Heaven, not the War on Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
The war. Sorry, it just got an image now of like a bunch of orcs wearing fedoras. It's like no, the War in Heaven. They sort of spread out throughout the galaxy and sort of over the years got dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber until you see them what they are now. And though saying they're dumb is for like the average sort of orc boy or orc Gretchen, that's true. For like stuff like your pain boys and mech boys and war bosses, they're kind of clever. Some of them
Right.
depends what faction they're in as well. Like certain units of orcs are really clever. In
Hmm.
fact, some orcs or most orcs read low and high gothic. It's kind of terrifying.
So basically, what ended up happening is they were more intelligent initially, and then through evolution, they just kind of became a little dumber. But like the violence never went away. Basically.
Yeah, no. Yeah, yeah. They basically was like, I don't know. It was like going from like a military force to football hooligans on a Saturday night. Sort of like that level of like discipline and everything, all the way to getting pissed up and having a punch up outside Sainsbury's at 3 a.m. How
Which,
I would describe the Orcs.
and honestly, I would say that's actually part of what makes them so great is because they have just all this personality. It's difficult to explain, but yeah, like basically orcs. If they're there, you're going to be having a fun time. But
Yeah, I've never played against anybody who's an Orc player that ever took the game seriously. Like, it's impossible to take, or it's impossible to like have an army of orcs and go, right, this is like a tournament list. This is so viable because for the most part, you're if you're shooting, you're hitting on 5s and 6s. However, if you get a 6 with a gun, you get to fire that gun again. So if you have a rocket launcher, that you rolled a 6 and then you roll another 6 and then you roll another 6 and then it is possible to get 4 shots out of a single shot weapon.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun when that happens, and it's happened to me once. It managed to kill a giant land raider with like my Terminators in it, and I was like, well, fuck. I can't do anything. Luckily, it didn't explode, but it did kill my Land Raider. So I was like, piss. I guess I have to march now. Fuck. Oh, dude, just 4 missile shots straight into my Land Raider. But yeah, orcs are just fun. Like, I have my own little army of orcs, and they're just fun. I collect Death Skull Orcs because I like the whole. I really like Death Skull Orcs because they're just sort of like the seagulls from Finding Nemo. Just find stuff like mine, 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 mine. It's so good. Also, I have a like. There's an orc flying unit called a Storm Boy, which is an orc with a fuck off giant jetpack. It's
I
It
saw
doesn't
something
make
about the Storm Boys, and that to me they sounded like just amazing. Basically, they're all about just speed, basically, and with their
yeah,
jetpacks, just get in there and cause as much mayhem as possible.
yes,
Yes.
and yes, that's what they do. But I've got Storm Boys. I kind of want to get like a huge 30 orcs, yeah, 30 orcs strong like Storm Boy squad, and call it Von Baron's ludicrous Storm. I don't know, Jetpack Adventures. But basically, it's just because like 5 of my Storm Boys are like from the really old metal kits they
Hmm.
used to do. I was born. So, but I've sort of converted it a little bit, and so it just looks like this really angry orc-looking commissar with like a bunch of amateur orcs. So I like to, it's like like the flying aces, but it's just green, and all of them have jetpacks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, what was that?
oh, I was about to say something, but I think that there's a stratagem you can spend, but I think it's for orc flying vehicles called Flying Headbutt. Basically, yes, there's a stratagem on the tabletop for orcs called Flying Headbutt.
Mhm.
Basically, this means that at any point, you basically can kamikaze any flying vehicle straight into the enemy, and it automatically explodes, and then it does small wounds. It's it's the best, and it's called Flying Headbutt. So, like, you can shoot normally, or you can just go, you know what, fuck this. So good. It's surprisingly quite a good strategy.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. Yeah, so, like, you're low on health and you're thinking, you know what, I know I'm not going to survive for much longer. Sonic Kamikaze. So good. It's so good. I think everyone should have, like, Orc flyers.
It feels to me like it feels to me like it's a lot of improvised weaponry, basically, you know. And that's something that I found in my research too, was that honestly, like, they get their hands on anything, they can turn it into a killing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. If an orc believes it will happen, it'll happen. So an orc can, like, I mean, there's like a short story I read. Basically, an orc vehicle stopped working,
Mm-hmm.
and the orcs ask, like, the main orc war boss, "Did you fill up the tank?" The orc war boss goes, "Yes," and then it starts working again. Like, the vehicle will just start working, just at the will of, like, if enough orcs believe it, then it will work. It's
Yes.
so good.
And that's
Also,
actually the next thing that I had here in my notes, is that the old ones implanted in them a random psychic ability that allows them to will things into existence as long as enough of them believe it.
yes.
It only
It's
works
kind
for
of
them. This is kind of like,
However,
yeah.
however, it only works for them, but it turns out it can also keep people alive.
What?
This being, oh yeah, Commissar Yarrick is like really, 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 really old at this point, because Armageddon sort of happened shortly after the Horus Heresy, or shortly before. I'm trying to remember, but basically, Commissar Yarrick is just this really fucking old human being,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got an orc power claw because his arm got ripped off during, like, one of the earlier fights on Armageddon. So he killed the Orc War Boss, picked up the Orc War Boss's power claw, and yelled at all the other orcs, causing the orcs to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So Gabriel Fracker hears about this and think, oh, you know what? I like this human. He's like the best. So basically, what happened is, like, they kidnap Commissar Yarrick, and Yarrick escapes the orcs. And at the end, like, when he's about to escape, Gazgul Fracker just comes out of nowhere and goes, "You know what? We like you here. You know what? Have the..." And basically, they help him get better and give him, like, an escape pod. It's like, "See you later, mate. You're amazing." So Commissar Yarrick is just really old. He's really pissed off all the time, and he just is like this really old person that's just living somehow, that can use an orc war claw, like an old orc war boss claw. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's see. There is something that I had written here about machine spirit.
Yes.
It came up in the notes in my research, but it's not something that I fully understood. So, could you, like, walk me through that? What is that?
Machine spirit, basically orc mechs and orc weird boys, and pretty much any orc that's interested in, like, machinery, believes basically any repairs that happen to a vehicle, it's more of a machine spirit's more of an Adeptus Mechanicus thing, really. But yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to think now, because machine spirit's usually like the Omnissiah, which is more of an Adeptus Mechanicus thing, not orcs. But orcs believe orcs believe that certain vehicles will just work, and mech boys, when repairing a vehicle, believe their repairs are like the best thing ever and will work.
Mm-hmm.
So It's like that. But I know that the Adeptus Mechanicus has tried testing out Ork Weaponry, and each and every tech priest and like Skitari and anyone in the Adeptus Mechanicus when testing out Ork weapons are like really confused. It's like it shouldn't work. It just shouldn't. It's literally just a piece of string connected to a trigger. Why is it firing at us? What's making it work? So yeah, Machine Spirit sort of more the Omnisire and stuff.
Okay, so
yeah.
Gotcha. And all of that is connected to their psychic ability that makes things work as long as they believe in it. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of how like the Orcs managed to build a moon.
That is just like the craziest ability, and it's my favorite for many reasons. Because that's a.
Like Orcs also have psychers as well. Like they're called Weird Boys, and every Orc is terrified of Weird Boys because it's like a 50% chance they will buff an Orc, 50% chance they will wipe out all the Orcs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's sort of like, there's an Orc there doing weird. Yeah, Weird Boys are just. You don't really find them that often. They're usually reserved for like the Snakebite clan, which are like really primal sort of Orcs that believe in the old ways. Yeah, each Orc clan can talk about them if you want.
Sure, go for it.
Yay. Basically, there's like technically right. There's like a billion different Orc warbands, but there's like five main like Orc warbands. Death Skull, famous for basically acting like seagulls from Finding Nemo, and has the best doctor ever, Mad Doc Groznik, who's like Skull's Fracker's own personal physician. You have the Bad Moons, who are basically just the Bad Moons. I kind of feel sorry for them because they arrive like with all like the best weapons possible. They're like really flashy. They've got the best vehicles, and usually what will happen is that Orcs from other clans will just punch them in the face and take all their stuff. It's like, yeah, by the way, I've got this shooter that's the best, and then other Orcs will just punch him for acting like a complete ass. It's like, no, you don't. It's ours now. So yeah, they just get dicked on for having like lots of teeth.
Yeah.
You have the Snakebites clan, who are just really, really primal. They don't really like using guns. They don't like using vehicles. They just want to just have squig pets and just be at peace. They just, well, not peace, but you know what I mean. They just want to mess around with psychic abilities, be left alone, and just have like loads of wild squigs everywhere. And to be honest, they're kind of cool. And they have some really cool psychic powers as well. It's terrifying. It's like, oh yes, by the way, a snakebite psychic basically can melt half your army. Well, fuck. So there's that.
Yeah.
You've got the main Orc. You've got the main Orc army. The poster boys for the Orcs called the Goths, who are like the biggest Orc warband possible, and is always being led by Gazgel Fracker. However, Gazgel Fracker can also be sort of in charge of every Orc warband because he's the prophet of Gork and Mork. So, but originally Gazgel Fracker comes from the Goths, so the Goths are like the biggest. They're sort of they're sort of everywhere. They're quite powerful. They use a nice mixture of every single unit. You have the Blood Axes, who other Orcs don't like. Other Orcs don't like the Blood Axes at all.
Why is that?
Because they use stealth. They use stealth and tactics.
Oh.
The Blood Axes do not like any other orcs using stealth and tactics because they see it as quite cowardly.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. They probably see it as cowardly.
It is very cowardly.
Yeah.
However,
Uh-huh.
the Bloods just don't really care. It's like, well, that's fine, but we do kill a lot of people. There's they they actually have Blood Axes have a unit called Commandos who are like stealthy orcs, and I forgot what the story was, but there was like this big orc war boss who was like a commando orc, and he's just been left on this planet alone, and he's just hunting humans forever and space marines forever. And he's still alive, and he's just going through like death worlds, just picking off humans and stuff. He's really cool. So yeah, he's like this really stealthy orc that no other orc really likes because he's using stealth, and that's not an orc way. An orc way is loud, shouty, and create chaos, not shh.
Yeah, that it would be kind of weird, almost like hearing about a ninja berserker. It's unheard of. You can't do it. They're two completely opposing ideologies.
I know, but there is an amazing extract from like an old Orc Codex that I read. This was in 7th edition, and it was basically like an Imperial Guardsman trying to explain to the Inquisition that stealthy orcs exist, and the Inquisitor hearing this is like, "Nah, you're being a heretic. Take him away." Now he's lying. He's just lying. Take him away. Orcs don't do stealth. What are you?
Now, here's something that I have to ask, because based on all of the official artwork that I've seen, orcs are massive. It's really hard for me to picture them being stealthy. So how does that work exactly?
Oh, well, there's two answers. One of them is stealthy orcs paint themselves purple because have you ever seen a purple orc?
Oh my god.
I think so. And another way is that on the Orc Commando, the Orc Commando model, is they have giant fuck off trench coats that make them look like a guardsman. It's like,
oh my
so
god,
dumb. Basically, it's just trench coats and purple paint. It's amazing.
Gosh,
but they also have night vision goggles as well, and it's just the best.
And I imagine that this has a lot to do with their belief ability too, because, for example, they'll paint their war machines red because that makes them go faster, or at least they believe it does, and that's the case.
And that brings me on to another clan, the Evil Sons, who basically are the complete opposite of the Blood Axes. They just love speed.
Yes,
not the drug. They just like going fast.
I remember seeing something about that. And the crazy thing is that based on what I saw about the way that they build machines, is that they'll prioritize speed over everything, including safety. Because if anyone happens to die on an orc machine, whatever, we got more orcs. They're coming out of the woodwork. Doesn't matter if we lose a few, as long as the machine goes fast.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, I think Evil Sons are responsible for like grot cannons. Basically, they will get a grot, like a little tiny Gretchen or a grot, shove them into a gun with like a rocket, and fire the rocket at the enemy, and the grot gets celebrated. Because it's like, oh, look at the grot, he's like the best ever, and then he explodes. It's like, because that's like the best way to go if you're a grot. Instead of like being eaten by a squig or something,
right?
You can either be shoved into like a killer can dread, or you can be fired out of a rocket and be worshipped. It's like, oh dear, it's one of the best.
Yeah.
You also have, and you also have freebooters who are like space orc pirates, and they're like I really like I really do like freebooters because they're just space orc pirates. They just fly around the galaxy collecting shit. It's like, why wouldn't you want an army of space orc pirates? I collect Death Skulls because I really like Mad Dog Groznik, but freebooters are just amazing, and their main orc war boss is like a really, really old orc pirate. At this point, he's just an old orc. Have you ever played Resident Evil?
Yes.
Yeah, well, imagine like the guy with the trench coat who goes, "Why are you buying? Why are you selling?" But imagine that as an orc, and he does that to other orcs. It's like, "Why are you buying? Why are you selling?" He's so cool. He has like a giant spaceship as well, in like a style of like an old pirate ship. He's got like a giant fuck off orc flag. It's amazing. He
That's
just
hilarious.
flies around the galaxy doing his own shit, and not even like Gazgul Fracker knows what he's doing half the time. He's like, fuck it, I'll leave it.
Right.
I'll leave it. He's out. We can't really do anything because he just gets supplies for all of us. So yeah, and you can't really go up to him and beat him up because his bodyguards have the objectively best, subjectively best orc weapons. Like they just dissolve people and stuff. It's like, what are you gonna do when you're fighting an orc pirate? Can't do anything. Oh dear.
Oh, that's comical to just picture. So here's something that
there was also another.
What's that?
Oh, I was about to say something.
No, go for it.
You go first. Oh, I was about to say there was another orc pirate called Tusker the Demon Killer, who basically went, you know what? I like these trophies, but you know what I really like? Killing demons. So after like a demon went on board of his ship because a weird boy freaked out and managed to accidentally summon a demon or something, the demon Tusker decided, you know what? Let's all go to the giant Eye of Terror, and this was when Cadia was still a planet. So this orc basically had like a shit ton of weird boys with him. Because weird boys attract demons because of psychic shenanigans, and basically lined up with like Cadia and the Eye of Terror. Now every Cadian guardsman and like High Lord was shitting themselves because they thought, "Oh, great, another orc invasion! An orc invasion on Cadia. This cannot happen." And as they were about to like open fire and everything, the orcs basically just disappeared. It turns out they weren't aiming for Cadia, they were aiming for like the giant Eye of Terror, and they decided, you know what, fuck it, let's go into the warp. Full throttle into the warp.
Yeah.
And then for like a long while, just this orc pirate was just killing demons left, right, and center until he landed on like a corn planet. And now there was no demons on this planet, so he got really angry and shot the ground in anger. The ground started bleeding.
What?
So then he ordered all the orcs because it's like a giant orc planet. Not orc, giant corn planet.
Okay.
It was a planet dedicated to like blood god. However, the planet was a living being. So he ordered all of his men just to fire into the planet. And when that happened, all of a sudden, a shit ton of demons just came out of nowhere, including a giant fuck-off general of Khorne. Like a giant, big, demonic general of Khorne. Just arrived and, like Khorne, blood for the blood god.
Oh.
A giant fuck-off demon with, like, chain axes and shit.
Okay.
Basically, Tusker the Demon Killer was in a lot of shit, to say the least. This fight killed all of his men.
Oh, man.
The giant fucking Yeah, the giant fuck-off demon basically picked up Tusker the Demon Killer and impaled him. However, before Tusker died, the weird boys managed to distract the demon long enough. So before Tusker died, he got his Ork Power Claw, placed the Ork Power Claw in between the demon's legs, and squished his balls like they were grapes.
Oh, that's one way to do it. Yep.
That pissed off the demon to no end, and then the demon killed Tusker, the Demon Killer, and the Weird Boys. However, this story does have a happy ending.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Khorne himself, the giant blood for the blood god, was watching Tusker the Demon Killer and was really impressed with him. Like, really, really impressed with him because he was killing his demons, pretty much every demon. In fact, Tusker's influence in the warp got so good that demons would actively try and avoid Tusker. That's how like kill crazy. He was basically the Ork Doom guy.
Wow.
So like Khorne was like really impressed with Tusker and the rest of his men. So you know what? I'm going to teleport Tusker to my own home planet here. So he teleported Tusker and all of his orcs to his own home planet, where every morning on Khorne's own home planet, where there's like a billion, jillion demons everywhere, Tusker would get resurrected, as well as his men, and would start fighting. This acts as like a Valhalla. Basically, the orcs just fight, then they wake up, and you know what?
They'd love it.
Orcs leave spores when they die. Orcs leave spores when they die.
Oh, no. So basically, like, every time that he's killing them, he's just infesting the place more and more with orc spores.
Yep. Oh. Which means Khan loves this, by the way, because it means he gets to invest his own home planet with more and more demons. Which means more and more blood, which means more and more skulls.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy to get to fight forever. The demons are happy, apart from the one general bloodletter that's really pissed off with Khorne. They couldn't do anything because Khorne just found it hilarious.
Oh my god.
So, like the cover art for like Doom and Doom Eternal, just imagine that, but instead of like the Doom guy, it's just Tusker the Demon Killer.
That's awesome.
Just like this giant... Yeah, and I'm hoping they never retcon it.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so. Also, actually, I would like to see a movie about that. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
And also, orcs get bigger for every fight they're in. As well, they sort of with the fight. So Tusker at this point is like the size of, I don't know, a planet itself. So Khorne's probably just expanded his planet even wider with more demons.
Oh man,
it's Orc Valhalla.
It sounds like it. It sounds like they'd be just absolutely eating it up. Like, this is the best Destiny ever.
Yeah, pretty much. You basically live. You basically get to live with all your boys and all like your orc units and your own orc army. Fight a bunch of demons, die, and then get to do it all again. Like that.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's the best orc story ever. So yeah.
Here's a question for you. I kept coming across a concept known as chaos. And it said something about orcs not being affected by it.
Orcs, right. It depends on the Chaos God, because obviously Blood for the Blood God, orcs go hand in hand. However, when an orc is inflicted by Khorne, the orc will then turn red, like his skin will just turn red. And this will mean that the other orcs will either kill that orc or just exile him from the community. Or just get a weird boy to explode his head. Nurgle orcs are kind of You know the flood from Halo?
Yes.
That's how Nurgle orcs work. Basically, they're just like homes for like giant parasites and stuff. And when Nurgle feels like it will just detonate a Nurgle orc, infecting more orcs, and they will turn all pustule and. Zinch doesn't really have any power over orcs because orcs aren't really going to wonder about questions and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't wonder that much. It's not. You can't really. Zinch hasn't really got a hold over orcs, and Slanesh really doesn't have power over orcs. Apart from one orc that was addicted to flamethrowers. There was just this one orc that loved his flamethrower so much that Slanesh basically buffed his own buffed the flamethrower to such an extent that it never ran out of flames. Ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, basically like a never-ending flamethrower, and the orc probably burnt out before the flamethrower did. I think. So yeah, orcs do get affected by chaos, but they don't really turn to it. It's more like demons will just come out and kill them.
Gotcha. Okay, so updating my notes on that part. So their relationship with humans is kind of complicated from what I can kind of see. Like, for example, they see humans as weak, but they absolutely respect the Emperor of Mankind. They think he's a solid, like, war leader and all that.
Oh yeah, because the Emperor. I mean, hell, the Emperor's like the best war boss there ever is. Like, there's just one guy that has from like an orc's perspective, the Emperor has this huge army full of guns, tanks, dudes, and everything, and they just do whatever he says. Basically, the orcs think, okay, that's an orc war boss.
Right.
That's like the best orc war boss ever. So yeah, that's about the size of it. Individual humans is sort of like, humans are weak. You can't use their teeth too small. You might as well be food.
Right.
You might as well be food unless you're Commissar Yarrick, who's like 1 billion years old.
But hold on, I did see that in some cases, some factions of orcs can work as mercenaries for humans.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, the Imperial doesn't talk about that though.
Yeah,
no, that never happened officially. It's like a needs must situation. Where like there are orc mercenaries willing to work with humans for a lot of money, and the Imperium's like, this never happened. Don't look at any of the paperwork, or I'll shoot you for heresy. Please don't look at the paperwork. It's all above board. Yes, no.
Oh my god.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Let's see here. Now, they have 2 gods, Gork and Mork.
One's brutal but cunning, then the other's cunning but brutal.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. So, now, do those guys have a history of their own? Because I honestly, only kind of skimmed at it. I said I'd come back to it, but never got a chance.
Alright, Gork and Mork might be one of the first orcs ever created. Like, Gork and Mork might have been like the prototype for orcs. Well, like for orcs even. But you see, it is entirely possible for like Gork and Mork to exist in the warp as actual entities because orcs believe it to be. But yeah, Gork and Mork's basically sort of they're just bigger orcs. Basically, they're 2 orcs forever fighting each other. That's about it.
Oh, so they're fighting each other. I thought that
they're fighting each other, but it's sort of like a friendly fight, if that makes sense. Like, It's sort of like the snake that forever eats its own tail. It's sort of like that.
I see, I
But
see.
yeah, in fact, there's a tabletop spin-off game of 40k called Gorkamorka.
Uh-huh.
One side worships Gork, the other side worships Mork, and you have to like build this shrine to Gork and Mork,
Mm-hmm.
or Gork or Mork. But usually they're worshipped together. And Guzgul Fracker claims he can hear them both. So, you know, whatever Guzgul Fracker says is probably true.
Yeah.
He is the prophet. He is just the Orc Pope at this point.
Yeah, he really is. And that's another thing that I was going to get into is the invasion of Armageddon by Gaskell Fracker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a big thing, you know, that they took the big hulker that came out of the warp, and he just said, you know what, we're taking it. That's ours now. And yeah.
I really like the war on Armageddon, just because for the most part it wasn't like generic Space Marines versus Orcs. It was the Imperial Guard, who are just like these normal guys just trying to fight off a horde of Orcs forever, and there's like very few Space Marines in it. It's amazing. Like,
shoot.
I mean, I mean, reading the Armageddon books, I just felt really sorry for the guardsmen. It's like, well, fuck, there's this orc bearing me, I guess I'm dead. This is me, this is the ground, I've now turned into paste.
Yeah, and...
However, they really did like Commissar Yarrick.
They did.
Because Commissar Yarrick was yeah, they just Commissar Yarrick was like the worst commissar to have, because usually if you're an Imperial Guardsman, if you don't follow orders, the commissar will shoot you.
Right.
So like the commissar asks you to push up and you don't, the commissar will shoot you. Yarrick was so angry that would just shoot his own men out of anger and then get anybody watching that to push and charge the Orcs. Now, bearing in mind, the Imperial Guard just have a glorified assault rifle and a bayonet. The Orcs have got chain axes, like Orc version, choppers, giant knives, you name it, just every melee weapon. But Commissar Yarrick was like, no, you will do this. You will do this, or I'll shoot you personally.
And
like, well,
I imagine that the Orcs really respected that. Like, that upon seeing that, they're like, well, this guy gets it, you know, like all other humans, you know, act all civil and diplomatic and whatnot. But no, this guy, you know, it's all about fighting.
Yeah, and that's why he's not dead. Because the Orcs believe he will live forever. Commissar Yarrick's just there forever. Just like, oh, I'm old. In fact, Commissar Yarrick is refused retirement. Like, he just straight up went, no, I'm not going to retire. I want to kill Guzgul Fracker. I want to make sure he's dead. So he just doesn't retire. He can't. And the average Orc believes he doesn't die, so Commissar Yarrick's just like this really old man with a power claw. He's like, oh, god damn it. Oh, dear. But yeah, and it also helped that Yarrick was wearing goth colours as well, like red and black.
Yes.
Which are like colours, so Guzgul and everyone was like, oh, he's not only an human, but he's also one of us. He's tiny, but he's amazing, and he's got an orc power claw he's just punching us with. This is great. Why don't more people act like Yarrick?
Yeah, so like they really, really loved him. It's surprising to me, like, the way that he lives forever because they believe he will live forever. That to me is just wow.
He's not dead yet. He is not dead.
So how long has he survived because of this?
Oh, the war on Armageddon happened the war on Armageddon happened. Oh shit! It's either before or just after the Horus Heresy. So it's like the events of that, and then he's probably like either 9,000 years old or 8,000
Oh,
years old,
good God.
or he's like, or like 1,000. He's probably 1,000 years old at this point.
Holy
Like,
cow.
the orcs love him. He's not dead. He's just like a happy-go-lucky scamp for the orcs. Like, and you know what? Yarrick is really angry and wants to kill Gazgel Fraka. Can we talk about something slightly annoying that happened with Gazgel Fraka?
Sure, hit me with it.
Okay, so Gazgel Fraka got a giant update a few months ago, I think it's a year ago now, or something. Gilfraka got this giant update where he basically became like a normal-sized orc with power armor to like this giant hulking green mess. And instead of having Commissar Yarrick face Gazgel Fraka, which would have been amazing because it would also update the Imperial Guard units a little bit, it was the shitting Space Wolves. It was Ragnar Blackmane versus Gazgel Fraka. And everyone was like, that doesn't make sense. But I guess because Gazgel Fraka killed a wolf, it's like, ugh. I was not impressed. Because I just wanted to see, like, old man Gazgel Fraka have, like, a remodel where he's just, like, really old and is, like, just dragging this huge power claw with him. But he's also got, like, more cybernetics with him.
Yeah.
And it's, like, Fraka and Yarrick having, like, one final fight or something. But no, instead they decided to update Space Marines again. Woo! Not even the orcs are safe from like Space Marine interruption. I don't think any race is.
Oh my gosh!
It's like if there's like anything to do with like the lore of any race, you can guarantee Space Marines crop up somewhere.
Oh, that's crazy. Now,
it's so annoying.
I gotta ask this because this seemed to me like it was one of the most out there things that must have happened in the history of orcs. Because from what I'm gathering, they're basically led by the strong. So if at any point your leader is just not as strong as he seems, you basically kick him out and follow the next strongest guy. So,
well, it depends, really. If you think you can take on the Orc War Boss, go ahead. If you die, you lose. If he dies, you're now Orc War Boss. However, being Orc, there's some Orc War Bosses that are just really crafty.
Okay.
And like they're not strong, they're just incredibly smart, so they like use the environment and stuff. Or like they pay other orcs to fight for them, or like they have orcs so loyal to them it becomes sort of a cult.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway. Go on, what were you saying?
Oh no, well my question about that was Gazgel Fraka, because technically he lost at the War of Armageddon, didn't he?
No.
No?
No. Orcs don't lose. Orcs never lose. And the mindset of the orc is that you fight, and then you retreat, and then you fight again some other day. You don't ever lose. You just fight, you get tired, then you fight again.
Oh,
so
okay.
the orcs lose. So, like, Gazgel Fraka during the fight did disappear for a long time, and some orcs were like, I just ran away, and this usually was met with another orc overhearing this and shoving their head into like a buzzsaw or something.
No, man.
Gazgel Fraka was like, well, Gazgel Fraka's like the Pope, really. You can't overthrow him, especially with like a physician like Mad Dog Groznik by his side. You can't overthrow. I mean, to go through Gazgel Fraka is to also go through Mad Dog Groznik. And are you attached to your limbs? Do you really want a doctor with like surgical knowledge and has probably put an explosive in your head?
Oh man. So
fight that guy.
If you're
The
attached
guy
to your
would-
limbs, you're not going to be attached to them for very much longer if you're going through Mad Dog in that case, huh?
No, Mad Dog always wins.
So, I guess one more thing I wanted to ask, because I put it down in my notes because it came up, but I don't think that I got an answer for it, is who is Vulcan?
Oh, Vulcan's this giant green prime. He's basically the nicest Primarch. Vulcan's the Primarch of the Salamanders, and he might have yeeted a huge orc into a power reactor, killing himself and the orc simply known as the Beast. Because Gazgal's War was sort of nothing compared to like what happened during the War of the Beast, where basically this giant uncontrollable war happened, and there was this giant fuck off orc about the size of a Primarch, and Vulcan had to like defend a planet called, I forget. It was basically a home planet he had that he had basically turned into like a crispy planet. He basically just set his own planet on fire. Not his own planet. He set a planet on fire. He felt bad about it, so him and a few salamanders went down and stopped an orc invasion. But Vulcan can't die. Vulcan's like a perpetual.
Right.
Means he can't die. He feels everything though. Like Vulcan can feel like pain, but he can't die. So you can reduce him to atoms, but then he just comes back. So with this in mind, during the War of the Beast, he met this giant orc, and it was similar to Vulcan. They were both similarly matched. So Vulcan basically went, you know what, fuck this, grabbed the orc and charged with the orc into like an orc power reactor and killed the orc and himself by just charging into like a giant orc power reactor. And this also caused that Vulcan disappeared, and the salamanders are looking for like shards of pieces of Vulcan or whatever, so they can hopefully return him once more or something daft. And you probably think, oh, well, that's the end of the War of the Beast. And then 6 more giant orcs happened. The War of the Beast got really stupid after that. Because it was like, oh, yeah, you know what's more dangerous than one giant orc? How about 6 giant orcs? It's like, where the fuck did that come from? Why did you kill off a Primarch only to then go, psych, have 6 more? They didn't. I mean, Vulcan's not dead, obviously, but he's like, oh yeah, by the way, Vulcan's disappeared due to, heroically saving everyone from the giant orc simply known as the Beast by charging with him into a power reactor. And then a few days later, psych, have 6 more giant orcs.
That is wild. And that this has got to be like one of my favorite things about Warhammer thus far is that, things get pretty crazy. Like there's a lot of fighting going on, and, it can get pretty dark. And a lot of the times you're like, well, it can't get any worse. And it's like, oh, really? Just
can't
watch.
Get worse. Laughs in Womb Factory. Can't get any worse. Laughs in Dark Eldar.
So,
at least my home planet might be destroyed. I might be eaten by orcs, but it can't get much worse. Cuts to like some poor guy basically being tortured by Dark Eldar for the rest of his life.
Oh my god.
And then that guy says, well, it can't get any worse. Cuts to like a possessed womb factory by the Iron Warriors. It can't get any worse, surely. Cuts to like... It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Oh my gosh. And that is just, to me, that is crazy and hilarious and so awesome.
it's so over the top. Like with the orcs, they're probably the nicest faction
Hmm.
because orcs won't lie to you. Like orcs aren't interested in like psychological shit. They just want to fight, kill stuff, get drunk, and then die, and then do it all again.
Right. So
You don't.
basically, you always know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with an orc. But
Yeah.
yeah.
However,
Uh-huh.
we can I please mention the uh can I please mention like the communist revolution?
Sure, hit me with it.
Uh, Basically, there was this grot called Dared Gobbo. He was tired of how the orcs were treating all the grots, so he basically made a little grot revolution. That's so dumb. And basically, this revolution so shit that they lied about what they achieved. So, like, a grot managed to kill an orc, all of a sudden turned into this grot managed to kill a squad of orcs using nothing but his bare hands. And Gretchen might have made a mistake during a surgery. It turns into this grot sabotaged an orc surgery and killed a war boss. A grot blew up something. It turns into the grot then blew up a giant, orc titan.
Oh my god.
It got so bad. But what happened was with the Red Gobbo is that the other orcs found out about it and basically went nah and just sort of killed him or like just sent him on his way. And now he comes back as like a grot Santa Claus.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on. Like, how is that? Like,
you have to believe. I
oh,
mean, many grots believe. As I
so
was saying, yes,
uh-huh.
as I was saying, Jared Gobbo is basically the Gretchen Santa,
Hmm. And but you,
and
you
he
have
basically,
you have to believe in him, and they all believe in him a lot.
yeah, because he also led like a communist, sort of like a mini grot revolution. So he's like a little orc grot Santa. He's the best.
That is
He's
awesome.
not the best though. It's not the best grot though. The best grot has to go to Morokai, Gazgulfracker's own personal grot.
Okay.
Basically, Gazgulfracker's own personal grot is called Morokai.
Hmm.
Grot that's considered lucky because Gazgulfracker sat on him and everyone thought he was dead. That was until Gazgulfracker found him again underneath his ass. He's now considered the luckiest grot. And some orcs think it might be two Maracais, but it's probably just the same Marakai. And Marakai, surprisingly, the toughest model in the game. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious.
Oh, I
He
believe it.
has a 2-up in vulnerable save. He has a 2-up in vulnerable save.
Oh, oh. So
And
y-
it gets better.
okay.
If you roll a 6, which is his normal hit roll, if you roll 2 6s, which is his normal hit roll, he does D3 mortal wounds per hit. If you roll 2 6s, so that's up to 6 wounds maximum or 2 wounds minimum.
I love it. I love it.
He's got a 2-up invulnerable save. Like, the Adeptus Custodes don't get a 2-up invulnerable save. Like, this little grot is like toughness 2 or something. He's the tiniest, littlest model in the game, but he's somehow tougher than Gazgulfracker, who's got a 4-up invulnerable save. It gets even better because the rule is called suspiciously lucky.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like suspiciously lucky. You have a 2-up invulnerable save.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Also, I sent you Dered Gobbo. That is a real model
Let me have a
that
look.
you can buy.
Oh, I love it. That is awesome. Hold on.
He brings orc cheer to all the little grots and Gretchens.
I love how the list that he has attached to him is all teeth, except for the last one, which is skates.
Yes. Oh dear.
So let's see.
The orcs are so beloved. Luckily, if you are an orc player, you do get sort of yearly updates because October is also known as Orktember. So every October, there's an orc model or an orc update.
I love it. That is awesome.
It's so good. So good.
I'm 100% sold with orcs. I think they're hilarious and they're great. And
shooting phases are not that good at shooting because you're hitting on 5s and 6s. However, if you roll a 6, you then get to make another hit roll. If you roll another 6, and so on and so on. Melee, you're hitting on 3s. Orcs have got a shit ton of attacks. Also, there's a stratagem which allows you to teleport an orc force all the way up the board, or all the way back up all the way back at the board. You can teleport orcs as well.
Oh, holy cow!
It gets dumb when I'm going to teleport my orcs 9 inches away. What? I think it's like 3 command points. But if you have like a giant orc squad of 20, you just do that, and then you get to charge in. You're laughing because that's like probably 100 and something. Yeah, I hope you like dice because orcs have a lot of attacks and a lot of shooting.
I love it. That is awesome.
You just have to roll dice all the time.